Captain Jun Kim stood still as stone on the bridge of his small ship. His eyes were fixed on the main screen. There, taking up nearly the whole view, was an alien ship. It was huge, at least 8 times bigger than Earth's largest warship. Its dark metal hull blocked the stars behind it. "Captain, they're hailing us again," said Lieutenant Sue, her voice tight with worry. June nodded. "Open the channel." This was not how first contact was supposed to go. The Harmony was a diplomatic vessel sent to the edge of the solar system to set up a greeting station. Humans had been broadcasting welcome messages for decades. They had expected any aliens to approach slowly, carefully. Not like this. Not with what was clearly a massive warship that had appeared suddenly from nowhere. The main screen flickered, and for the first time, humans saw a living alien. The creature had a hard, ridge-covered face, with 6 dark eyes arranged in a circle. Its skin looked tough, like armor, in shades of deep green and brown. "This is High Commander Vrex of the Raxian Empire," said the alien. Its mouth didn't match the words. They were coming through the ship's translation system, which had been quickly analyzing the alien language from earlier transmissions. "Your vessel has been detected in claimed space. Prepare to be boarded." June swallowed hard. 20 years in Earth's diplomatic corps hadn't prepared him for this. "This is Captain Jun Kim of Earth's diplomatic corps. We welcome peaceful contact with the Raxian Empire. May I ask the purpose of boarding our vessel?" The alien made a sound like rocks grinding together. The translator hesitated, then offered laughter. "Your species is unknown to us," said Commander Vrex. "Standard protocol requires inspection and assessment. Prepare your airlock." June looked at his small crew. There were only 5 of them on the Harmony. If the aliens wanted to take the ship by force, there was nothing they could do to stop them. "We will comply," June said. "Our airlock will be ready in 10 minutes." The alien commander ended the transmission without reply. "Captain, we should call Earth," said Officer Han, the ship's engineer. His hands were shaking slightly. "No time," said June. "If they detect the transmission, they might see it as a threat. We need to appear cooperative." Lieutenant Sue stepped closer to June. "Sir, what's the plan?" "We follow diplomatic protocol. We show respect, we learn what we can, and we try not to get killed." June tried to sound confident, though his heart was racing. "Sue, you're with me at the airlock. Han, monitor from the bridge. Be ready to send a full report to Earth if things go wrong." The wait at the airlock was the longest 8 minutes of June's life. When the outer door finally hissed open, he stood tall, shoulders back, the picture of calm he didn't feel. The alien that ducked through the doorway was enormous, nearly 8 feet tall, with broad shoulders covered in what looked like natural armor plates. Up close, Commander Vrex was even more intimidating. 4 more aliens followed him, each carrying what were clearly weapons. "Captain Jun Kim," the alien commander said, looking down at him. "I am High Commander Vrex. You are the leader of this vessel." "I am," Jun replied, meeting the alien's multiple eyes without flinching. Vrex seemed to study him for a long moment. Then the alien said something that the translator took several seconds to process. When it did, Jun wasn't sure he had heard correctly. "Human," said Commander Vrex. "You will conduct my inspection." Jun blinked in surprise. "I'm sorry, I don't understand." The alien's armored face shifted in what might have been a smile or a threat display. "In Raxian protocol, when meeting an unknown species, their leader must inspect our forces. This shows you understand your place in our hierarchy." The commander's 6 eyes all focused on June. "You will come to my ship and conduct a formal inspection." Now, June felt a chill run down his spine. This was not in any first contact protocol he had ever studied. But as he looked up at the towering alien commander, he realized something important. He was being offered access to an alien warship. Whatever the reason, this was an opportunity no human had ever had before. "I would be honored, Commander Vrex," Jun said, his diplomatic training taking over. When do we begin? Lieutenant Sue grabbed Jun's arm before he could follow the alien commander. Captain, you can't go, she whispered. We have no idea what they really want. Jun gently pulled his arm free. This might be our only chance to learn about them. If I refuse, who knows how they'll react. Commander Vrex watched this exchange with his 6 eyes, waiting. Lieutenant, if I'm not back in 6 hours, send the emergency signal to Earth, Jun said quietly. Then he turned to the alien. I'm ready, Commander. The walk to the alien ship was short but tense. They moved through a sealed tunnel that connected the 2 airlocks. Jun tried not to show how nervous he felt. He had been an inspector in Earth's military before joining the diplomatic corps. He knew how to look at ships and troops with a critical eye. But inspecting aliens, that was new. The inside of the Raxian ship was strange. The halls were wider and taller than on human ships. The lights were dim and had a greenish tint. The air smelled like wet stone and something sweet Jun couldn't name. Commander Vrex led Jun to a large room with a round table in the center. 7 other Raxians stood around it. They all wore different colored armor, but each had the same 6-eyed face and tough plated skin. These are my senior officers, Vrex said. You will inspect them first. Jun wasn't sure what to do, but he decided to act confident. He walked slowly around the table, looking each alien up and down. He noted the differences in their armor, the weapons they carried, and the way they stood. In human inspection protocol, Jun said, making it up as he went, I would ask each officer to state their role and experience. Vrex made that grinding sound again, laughter, but then nodded to the first officer. One by one, the aliens stated their positions. Jun learned about navigation officers, weapons experts, and something called space fold engineers that he didn't understand at all. He memorized every detail. Your officers seem very experienced, Jun said when they finished. Now, I would like to see your ship's main systems. Vrex tilted his large head. You are more thorough than expected, human. A proper inspection requires proper attention, Jun replied calmly. In human protocol, a rushed inspection is considered disrespectful. This seemed to please the alien commander. Very well. We will show you our command center first. As they walked through the ship, Jun noticed many things. The Raxian ship had wider corridors than human ships. Doors opened upward instead of sideways. There were no chairs at the workstations. The aliens seemed to prefer standing. The command center was huge, with screens showing stars, planets, and data Jun couldn't read. He counted 23 Raxians working at different stations. Impressive, Jun said honestly. Your ship seems very advanced. The dominant claw is one of our smaller vessels, Vrex said, and Jun tried not to show his surprise. This massive ship was considered small. I would like to understand how your ship works, Jun said. In human protocol, knowing a ship's capabilities is part of a proper inspection. Vrex seemed unsure for a moment. Then he said, What do you wish to know? Jun thought quickly. This was his chance to learn valuable information. How does your ship travel between stars? He asked. And what weapons systems do you use? Vrex stared at him with all 6 eyes. For a moment, Jun feared he had gone too far. Then the alien commander did something unexpected. He laughed again, louder this time. You are bold for a species we just met, Vrex said. I will show you our engine room. But know this, human, we are sharing this information because we do not see your kind as a threat. As they walked deeper into the ship, Jun realized what was happening. The aliens were so confident in their superiority that they didn't mind showing him their technology. They didn't see humans as equals. That was their mistake. Jun had a perfect memory for technical details. It's why he had been a good inspector. Everything he saw now would be reported back to Earth. Tell me, Commander, Jun said as they approached a large door. Why does your protocol require the leader of another species to conduct an inspection? Vrex's armored face shifted in what might have been a smile. "So they understand where they stand in the order of things," the alien said. "After seeing our power, most species quickly agree to our terms." "And what terms would those be?" June asked carefully. The door to the engine room slid open, revealing a massive chamber filled with glowing blue equipment. "That," said Commander Vrex, "will depend on how well you conduct your inspection." The engine room of the Dominant Claw was like nothing Jun had ever seen. A huge blue crystal hung in the center of the room. It pulsed with light, sending waves of energy into tubes that ran along the walls and floor. "This is our main power source," Commander Vrex explained. "It draws energy from what you might call empty space." June walked slowly around the crystal, noting every detail. Earth scientists had theories about zero-point energy, but nothing like this working model. "How do you control it?" June asked, pointing to a panel where 3 Raxians stood watching displays. "Those are our energy flow regulators," Vrex said. "They ensure the power doesn't become unstable." June noticed something odd. The panel had no safety shields, and the Raxians working there wore no special gear. "What about radiation?" June asked. "Doesn't this produce harmful emissions?" Vrex made his grinding laugh sound. "Our bodies are naturally resistant to radiation levels that would kill softer species. We have no need for such protections." June filed this information away. A weakness, perhaps. The Raxians might not understand radiation dangers to humans. "I would like to see your weapon systems next," June said. "A proper inspection must include defensive capabilities." Vrex led him through more corridors. June counted his steps and noted each turn. He was building a mental map of the ship. The weapons control room was smaller than June expected. 5 Raxians operated stations around a central holographic display showing the space around the ship. "We can target and destroy any vessel within this range," Vrex said, pointing to a circle on the display that extended far beyond where Earth's farthest outposts were located. June nodded, trying to look impressed but not afraid. "What type of weapons do you use?" "Energy beams that can cut through most materials, and gravity weapons that can crush a ship from within." "May I see how they work?" June asked. Vrex seemed surprised by the request. "You wish to see a demonstration. In human inspection protocol, seeing equipment in operation is standard," Jun said confidently. Vrex spoke to one of his officers in their clicking language. The officer pressed some controls, and the holographic display changed to show an empty area of space. "We will demonstrate on a small asteroid," Vrex said. A moment later, a beam of intense red light shot from the ship. On the display, a small asteroid glowed bright and then shattered into dust. June kept his face calm, but his mind was racing. The weapon was powerful, but he noticed it took nearly 30 seconds to charge before firing. That might be useful information. "Very effective," Jun said. "Now I would like to see your crew quarters and food production areas." Vrex tilted his head. "Those are not military systems. Why do you wish to inspect them?" "A ship is only as strong as its crew," Jun replied. "In human military thinking, how you care for your soldiers is as important as your weapons." This answer seemed to intrigue the alien commander. An interesting perspective. "Very well. Follow me." The crew quarters were Spartan. Hard platforms for sleeping, no personal items, and very little privacy. The food area was just as basic, large vats of a thick, gray liquid that the Raxians ate. "Your crew lives very simply," Jun observed. "Comfort breeds weakness," Vrex said. "Our warriors need only what keeps them alive and fighting." June noticed some of the younger Raxians exchange glances when Vrex said this. Was there discontent among the crew? As they continued the tour, a sudden alarm blared through the ship. Vrex pressed something on his armor, and a small hologram appeared. "Captain," said a Raxian in the hologram, "the human ship is attempting to send a message to their home world." June's heart sank. Lieutenant Sue must have decided to call Earth despite his orders. Vrex turned all 6 eyes on June. Is this part of your inspection protocol, human? June thought quickly. My crew is likely concerned about my extended absence. In human protocol, regular check-ins are required during diplomatic missions. You told them to wait 6 hours, Vrex said, his voice harder now. It has been only 3. June realized the aliens had been monitoring his ship's communications. He needed to be careful. Perhaps there has been a misunderstanding, June said calmly. May I speak with my crew to clarify? Vrex stared at him for a long moment. Then he nodded. We will return to your ship. But remember, human, we are watching every move you make. As they walked back toward the airlock, June wondered if he had just lost the aliens' trust, and what that might mean for Earth's future. When June and Commander Vrex returned to the Harmony *, Lieutenant Sue was waiting at the airlock. Her face was tense. Captain, I'm sorry, she said quickly. Engineer Han thought we should call Earth when you were gone for 3 hours. Where is Han now? June asked. In the engine room, sir. June turned to Commander Vrex. This was a simple misunderstanding. My engineer was concerned for my safety. Vrex's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. Your crew does not trust your leadership. They trust me, June said firmly. But humans are naturally cautious when facing the unknown. May I speak with my engineer? Vrex nodded. I will accompany you. As they walked through the small human ship, June noticed how the alien commander had to duck to avoid hitting his head on the ceiling. The Raxian looked even larger inside the Harmony *. They found Han in the engine room, working on a panel. He turned when they entered, and his eyes went wide at the sight of Commander Vrex. Engineer Han, June said calmly, I understand you tried to contact Earth. That was against my orders. Han looked down. I'm sorry, Captain, but you were gone so long, and we didn't know if you were safe. June had a sudden idea. Commander Vrex, in human inspection protocol, technical experts often assist with evaluations. Would it be acceptable for Engineer Han to join us? His knowledge would help me conduct a more thorough inspection. Vrex seemed to consider this. What benefit would this bring? Han could understand your ship's systems better than I can, June explained. His insights would make my inspection more complete. After a long pause, Vrex nodded. Very well, but any further unauthorized communications will be considered hostile acts. 20 minutes later, June and Han were back aboard the Dominant Claw *. Han's eyes were wide as he looked at the alien technology around him. Focus, June whispered. Remember every detail. Vrex took them to a different part of the ship this time. These are our shield generators, he explained. They protect us from energy weapons and small asteroids. Han walked slowly around the equipment, his trained eyes taking in every detail. June could see his engineer's mind working. May I ask how they function? Han asked politely. A Raxian technician stepped forward. The shields create a field that disperses energy attacks and pushes away physical objects. Han nodded. Very impressive. How long can they operate at full power? Continuously, as long as the main crystal provides energy, the technician said proudly. Han glanced at June, and June saw something in his eyes. A realization. As they continued the tour, Han asked clever questions about power flow, cooling systems, and backup procedures. Each answer seemed to confirm something for him. When they reached a quiet corridor, Han whispered to June, Captain, their tech is amazing, but there's a serious flaw. Explain, June said quietly. Their main power crystal generates incredible energy, but they don't properly shield the radiation. They don't need to because their bodies can handle it. But that radiation would be deadly to us. June nodded slowly. Is there more? Yes, Han continued. Their systems are all connected to the main crystal. If it were damaged or destabilized, the whole ship would lose power, weapons, shields, everything. Are you two conducting a private inspection? Commander Vrex's voice boomed from behind them. June turned smoothly. Engineer Han was explaining the human inspection custom to me. We often discuss observations privately before presenting them officially. Vrex seemed suspicious but accepted the explanation. What observations have you made about our shield systems? June thought quickly. They are impressive, but different from our approach. Humans use layered systems with backups. Your single powerful system is more efficient, but leaves no fallback if it fails. The comment seemed to surprise Vrex. You think our design has weaknesses? Every design has trade-offs, Jum said diplomatically. Even the best systems can be improved. Vrex made a sharp clicking sound. Interesting. Most species simply praise our technology without analysis. For the first time, Jun felt the alien was truly seeing humans as thinking beings, not just another inferior species. Commander, Jun said, to complete my inspection properly, I would need to see how your crew handles unexpected situations. In human military practice, we test responses to simulated emergencies. Vrex's armor plates shifted as he considered this request. You wish to see our battle simulations? Yes, said June. That would be very informative. Little did Vrex know that June's real plan was forming, a way to turn this inspection into an advantage for humanity. The battle simulation room was large, with a circular platform in the center. Around it stood several Raxian officers, watching as June and Han entered with Commander Vrex. This is where we train our officers for combat, Vrex explained. The platform creates realistic holograms of enemy ships and weapons. June nodded, looking thoughtful. Before we begin, I'd like to have one more member of my crew join us. For a proper inspection of battle readiness, we need someone who understands tactical operations. Vrex's armor plates shifted in what June was beginning to recognize as annoyance. You continue to expand this inspection. Human. A thorough inspection benefits both our species, Jun said calmly. If we are to understand each other, we must be complete in our assessment. After a moment, Vrex agreed. Lieutenant Su was brought to the Raxian ship. When she arrived, Jun pulled her aside briefly. Record everything you see about their battle tactics, he whispered. Look for patterns and weaknesses. Su nodded slightly, her face giving nothing away. Now, Jun said, turning back to Vrex, in human protocol, we exchange information about battle tactics as a sign of respect. Perhaps you could demonstrate your approach to combat. Vrex seemed pleased by this request. Very well. Observe how the Raxian Empire conquers its enemies. The commander spoke to his officers, and suddenly the room darkened. The circular platform lit up, showing a hologram of space with several ships. June recognized the design as Raxian. This was our campaign against the Mevari system, Vrex said proudly. They resisted our expansion for 3 years before falling. The hologram showed Raxian ships forming a tight formation, then charging directly at the enemy fleet. Their weapons fired in powerful, coordinated blasts that overwhelmed the defenders. A direct assault, Lieutenant Su observed. Very powerful. Power is the way of the Raxian Empire, said a new voice. A smaller Raxian stepped forward, wearing armor with different markings. I am Second Commander Krav. I led this attack. Jun bowed slightly. Impressive tactics, Second Commander. Do you always attack directly? Krav's 6 eyes blinked. The strong have no need for tricks and deception. We face our enemies head-on and crush them with superior force. June noticed Lieutenant Su making mental notes. The Raxians were predictable. They valued direct confrontation over strategy. In human military history, Jun said carefully, we have learned that adaptability can be as important as strength. May I show you what I mean? Vrex and Krav exchanged looks. You wish to use our simulation? Vrex asked. If possible, Jun replied. A cultural exchange works both ways. After some discussion among the Raxian officers, Vrex agreed. Show us human battle tactics. Jun stepped onto the platform and asked how to operate the controls. A Raxian technician showed him, and soon Jun had created a simple space battle scenario. In this situation, Jun explained, the human fleet is outnumbered and outgunned. He pointed to a small group of ships facing a larger force. Instead of attacking directly, we might do this. A hologram showed the human ships splitting into smaller groups, using asteroids for cover, and attacking from multiple angles. They retreated when pressed, only to return from a different direction. You flee from battle? Krav asked, sounding disgusted. We withdraw strategically, Sue corrected. The goal is victory, not a glorious death. Jun continued the simulation, showing how the smaller force gradually weakened the larger one through repeated, targeted strikes. This is taking too long, Krav complained. Patience is part of human strategy, Jun replied. We accept that victory sometimes requires time. As the simulation ended, Jun noticed the Raxian officers were divided. Some looked dismissive, but others seemed thoughtful, including Commander Vrex. Your approach is unusual, Vrex said finally. It lacks honor but shows intelligence. Different cultures have different views of honor, Jun said. Humans value the lives of our people. A commander who wastes lives unnecessarily is considered dishonorable. This comment caused a stir among the Raxians. Jun saw Second Commander Krav's armor plates flare out, a sign of anger. You suggest our methods waste lives, Krav demanded. I'm merely explaining human values, Jun said calmly. We come from different cultures with different histories. Commander Vrex stepped between them. This inspection has been most educational, Captain Jun Kim. I believe we have learned much about each other today. As they left the simulation room, Jun caught Han and Sue exchanging glances. They had gathered valuable information today, not just about Raxian technology, but about their psychology and culture. By the third day of the inspection, something strange was happening. Jun noticed it first when a young Raxian officer approached him in the ship's food hall. Captain Kim, the officer said, keeping his voice low, I found your comments about crew rest very interesting. May I ask how humans organize their sleep cycles? Jun had mentioned to Commander Vrex that the Raxian rest areas seemed inadequate. He hadn't expected any reaction. On human ships, we work in shifts, Jun explained. Everyone gets at least 8 hours of uninterrupted rest in every 24-hour period. We have private sleeping areas and comfortable beds. The young officer's armor plates shifted slightly. 8 hours. We are allowed only 4 and must be ready for duty at any time. More Raxians joined their conversation, asking questions about human ship protocols. They seemed especially interested in how Earth ships treated their crew members. Later, when Jun rejoined Commander Vrex for the inspection, he noticed something different. The commander no longer gave orders but instead asked, Where would you like to inspect next, Captain Kim? Jun chose his words carefully. I would like to see your medical facilities. In human military, the health of the crew is a top priority. The medical area was smaller than Jun expected. A few injured Raxians lay on hard platforms while others worked with simple tools to treat them. Your medical technology seems less advanced than your weapons, Jun observed. Vrex's 6 eyes blinked slowly. Raxians who require extensive medical care are weak. Those who cannot heal naturally are not fit for service. Jun saw Han and Sue exchange glances. This attitude explained a lot about Raxian culture. In human thinking, Jun said, a soldier who is healed and returns to duty brings valuable experience. Their knowledge is not wasted. Several Raxian medical officers stopped their work to listen. One of them spoke up. This human view is logical. Experience has value that new recruits lack. Vrex turned sharply to the speaker. You question our ways. The medical officer lowered his eyes. I merely observed the logic, High Commander. As they left the medical area, Lieutenant Sue whispered to Jun, the crew is starting to look to you instead of Vrex. Have you noticed? Jun had noticed. Junior officers were watching him, waiting for his reactions, seeking his approval. It was subtle but unmistakable. That evening, as they rested in quarters provided for them on the Raxian ship, Han shared an observation. "There's unrest among the crew," he said quietly. "The younger officers especially. I think they're tired of the harsh conditions. And our presence is making it worse," Sue added. "We're showing them alternatives." June nodded slowly. "We need to be careful. If Rex thinks we're causing trouble, this could end badly." The next morning, they were invited to observe a Raxian command meeting. June, Han, and Sue sat quietly as Vrex and his senior officers discussed ship operations. During the meeting, Second Commander Krav spoke forcefully. "Our interaction with these humans has gone on too long. They inspect our ship, question our methods, and influence our crew. This must end." Several officers nodded in agreement, but not all. "The inspection has provided valuable insights," said another officer. "The humans have different approaches that deserve consideration." Crab's armor plates flared in anger. "You support alien ideas over Raxian tradition. This is dangerous thinking." The room grew tense. June watched carefully as the officers divided into two groups, those supporting Krav and those who seemed open to new ideas. Commander Vrex raised his hand for silence. "Captain Kim's inspection has revealed things about our ship and crew that I had not considered. This is the purpose of the protocol." Krav stepped forward. "High Commander, I formally challenge your interpretation of the protocol. These humans examine our weaknesses while we gain nothing." The room went completely silent. June didn't understand exactly what had happened, but he recognized a power struggle when he saw one. Vrex stood very still, all 6 eyes fixed on Krav. "You invoke a formal challenge. Consider carefully, Second Commander." "I have considered," Krav said firmly. "The crew will hear my challenge in the gathering hall tomorrow." After the meeting, Commander Vrex asked June to walk with him alone. When they were in a private corridor, the alien turned to him. "Captain Kim, your inspection has created an unexpected situation. Second Commander Krav has challenged my authority. I apologize if our presence has caused problems," June said carefully. "No," Vrex said, surprising June. "You have shown me things about my ship and crew that I needed to see, but now I need something else from you." "What is that, Commander?" Vrex's next words shocked June completely. June stared at Commander Vrex in shock. "You want me to be your advocate. I don't understand your laws or customs." "That is precisely why I need you," Vrex replied. "Krav will use traditional arguments that many officers have heard before. You will bring new thinking." June thought carefully. Being involved in alien politics was dangerous, but it was also an opportunity. If he helped Vrex, it might create goodwill toward Earth. "I'll need to know exactly what this challenge involves," Jun said. Vrex explained that in Raxian custom, when a commander's decisions were formally challenged, both sides presented their case before the entire crew. The crew then voted on which leader to follow. "If Krav wins, what happens to you?" Jun asked. "I would be removed from command," Vrex said. "And your inspection would end immediately. Krav would likely take your ship and crew for further study." June felt a chill run down his spine. If Vrex lost, everything could go wrong very quickly. Back in their quarters, June told Han and Sue about Vrex's request. "This is crazy," Sue said. "You can't get involved in their power struggle." "I don't think we have a choice," Han replied. "If this second Commander Krav takes over, he doesn't seem the type to let us go home with what we've learned." June nodded. "I agree. Our best chance is to help Vrex stay in command." Sue frowned. "So what's your plan?" "I need to understand what matters to the Raxian crew," June said. "What do they value? What do they want that they don't have now?" The 3 humans spent hours talking with friendly Raxian officers, learning about their culture, traditions, and current complaints. By morning, Jun had formed a plan. The gathering hall was the largest space on the ship. Nearly all 300 Raxian crew members stood in a circle around a central platform. Jun stood on one side with Commander Vrex. Across from them stood Second Commander Krav with his supporters. Krav spoke first. His voice boomed through the hall. "Fellow warriors of the Empire, High Commander Vrex has broken with tradition by allowing these humans too much access to our ship and technology. He listens to their alien ideas instead of following the proven Raxian ways. He has become weak." Many crew members made clicking sounds of agreement. June watched carefully, noting which officers supported Krav. "These humans question our methods," Krav continued. "They suggest we are wrong to value strength and direct action. They speak of comfort and rest as if warriors need such things. This is dangerous thinking that will make us soft." When Krav finished, all eyes turned to June. Taking a deep breath, he stepped onto the platform. "I stand before you not as a human trying to change Raxian ways, but as someone who has been asked to inspect and observe," June began. "In my inspection, I have seen the great strength of the Raxian Empire. Your technology is powerful. Your warriors are brave." This seemed to please the crowd. June continued. "But strength alone is not enough for an empire that wants to grow and last for generations. The strongest tree is not the one that never bends in the wind. It is the one that knows when to bend and when to stand firm." June could see confusion in the Raxians' six-eyed faces. He needed to be more direct. "Commander Vrex has shown wisdom by learning about other species and ways of thinking. Knowledge is power. Understanding your potential allies or enemies makes you stronger, not weaker." Some of the officers were nodding now, especially the younger ones. "Second Commander Krav says comfort makes warriors weak. But I ask you this: does a tired, injured, or hungry warrior fight better than one who is rested, healed, and well-fed?" This caused much discussion among the crew. June pressed his advantage. "The greatest strength comes not just from weapons, but from adapting and improving. Commander Vrex understands this. He values Raxian traditions, but he also seeks new knowledge to make your empire even stronger." As June finished speaking, the hall erupted in clicking and hissing as the Raxians argued among themselves. Krav looked furious, his armor plates fully extended in anger. Commander Vrex stepped onto the platform beside June. "It is time to decide," he announced. "Those who support Second Commander Krav, move to his side of the hall. Those who support me, move to my side." For a moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, the crew began to shift. June held his breath as he watched. The fate of the human inspection team, and possibly Earth's first contact with aliens, hung in the balance. The movement of the Raxian crew seemed to take forever. At first, many moved to Krav's side. June's heart sank as he watched officer after officer join the second commander. But then something changed. The younger officers began moving to Vrex's side. Then the technical staff. Soon, the medical officers followed. The tide was turning. When the movement finally stopped, June counted quickly. Vrex's side had more supporters. Not by much, but enough. Commander Vrex had won the challenge. Crab's armor plates flattened against his body in what June now recognized as a sign of defeat. The second commander stepped forward. "The crew has decided," Krav said stiffly. "I accept their judgment." Commander Vrex nodded. "You fought honorably, second commander. Return to your duties." As the crew dispersed, Vrex turned to June. "You have done well, human. Now we must talk privately." Vrex led June, Han, and Sue to a small room June hadn't seen before. It was simpler than other parts of the ship, with a round table and seats that even humans could use comfortably. "It is time for truth," Vrex said once they were alone. "My mission was not what you believe it to be." June tensed. "What do you mean?" "The Raxian Empire has been watching your planet for some time," Vrex explained. "We have debated what to do about humanity. Some, like Krav, believe you should be contained, kept isolated from other species." "And what do you believe?" June asked carefully. "I believe in assessment before action," Vrex said. "I came to test humans, to see what kind of species you truly are. Han leaned forward. The inspection was a test. For us, not our ship. Yes, Vrex admitted. In our history, we have encountered many species. Some react to our power with fear and submission. Others respond with immediate hostility. We treat each accordingly. Sue crossed her arms. And how do you plan to treat humans? Vrex's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. That depends on what I report to the Empire. Your inspection has provided much information. June suddenly understood. The inspection wasn't about us evaluating your ship. It was about you evaluating our character. Precisely, Vrex said, and you have shown interesting qualities. When faced with a more powerful species, you did not cower or attack. Instead, you observed, adapted, and found ways to turn the situation to your advantage. June thought carefully before speaking. So what happens now? That is the question, Vrex replied. The Raxian Empire is part of a larger galactic alliance. Some species are deemed too aggressive or unstable to join. Others are considered too weak to be useful. And where do humans fall? Han asked. That is not yet decided, Vrex said, but Captain Kim's actions during this inspection will be a major factor in that decision. June felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. Somehow, his handling of this strange first contact might determine humanity's place among the stars. There is more you should know, Vrex continued. The Alliance faces threats from beyond the known galaxy. We need species that can think differently, adapt quickly, and solve problems in new ways. Like how humans approach strategy, Sue said, understanding dawning on her face. Yes, Vrex agreed. Your simulation showed an approach very different from ours. Such thinking could be valuable. So this whole thing, intercepting our ship, demanding an inspection, it was all to see how we would react, June asked. Vrex made his grinding laugh sound. Would you have preferred a direct invasion, or perhaps a formal diplomatic meeting where everyone hides their true nature behind pleasantries? June had to admit the alien had a point. They had learned more about each other in these few days than they might have in years of formal diplomacy. Tomorrow, Vrex said, I will take you back to your ship. You will return to Earth with knowledge of the Raxian Empire and the wider galaxy. What happens next depends on what your leaders do with this information. And what will you tell your leaders about us? June asked. Vrex's armor shifted in what June now recognized as the Raxian equivalent of a smile. I will tell them that humans are unlike any species we have encountered before. You are weak in body, but strong in mind. You value cooperation as much as competition. You adapt rather than break. The commander paused. I will tell them that humanity might make a valuable ally, if approached correctly. As June and his crew left the meeting, they exchanged looks of amazement. What had started as a frightening encounter had turned into something much more significant. Humanity's first step into a larger universe. 1 month after returning to Earth, Captain June Kim stood before the United Earth Council. The large meeting room was packed with leaders from every major nation. They had gathered to hear his final report about humanity's first contact with aliens. The Raxian Empire is just one civilization among many in our galaxy, June explained. They are part of what they call the Galactic Alliance, a group of species that trade, share knowledge, and protect each other. The council president leaned forward. And do they consider us worthy of joining this alliance? They are still deciding, June replied honestly. Commander Vrex's report will greatly influence their decision. He told me he would recommend humans as potential allies. Thanks to your handling of the situation, noted the defense minister. Your team's quick thinking turned a dangerous first contact into a diplomatic opportunity. June nodded to Han and Sue, who sat nearby. We all played our parts. Engineer Han's technical insights and Lieutenant Sue's strategic observations were crucial. A display behind June showed images of the Raxian ship that Earth scientists had created based on the team's detailed descriptions. Another screen showed the data they had gathered about alien technology. Already, Our scientists have begun developing theories based on what we learned, Jun continued. The Raxians' energy crystal technology might help solve our power problems. Their space travel methods could revolutionize our own. And what about their weapons? Asked a council member from a smaller nation. Will this information create a new arms race on Earth? It was a fair question. Knowledge of advanced alien technology could easily lead to new conflicts on Earth. The United Earth Science Division has proposed sharing all findings equally among nations, Jun said. If Earth is to join a galactic community, we must be united. Our differences seemed small once we met beings from another world. Surprisingly, most council members nodded in agreement. After the meeting, Jun met with his crew in a quiet garden outside the council building. Han was leaving the next day to join an international research team studying the Raxian power systems. Sue had been promoted to captain and would lead a new division focused on space defense strategies. It's hard to believe how much has changed in just a month, Han said, looking up at the sky. Everyone on Earth knows we're not alone now. Sue nodded. And our militaries are finally working together instead of against each other. Nothing unites people like learning about powerful aliens. Jun smiled. Commander Vrex would find that interesting. Remember what he said about human adaptability. Before anyone could answer, Jun's communication device beeped. The message was from Earth Space Command. What is it? Sue asked, seeing Jun's surprised expression. They've detected a ship entering our solar system, Jun said. Not Raxian. Something different. Han's eyes widened. Another alien species. So soon. The message says they're requesting to speak with the human inspector. That's me, Jun said, his voice filled with wonder. They say Commander Vrex referred them to us. The three friends looked at each other as understanding dawned. Vrex hadn't just reported back to his people, he had told other species about humanity. I think our inspection made quite an impression, Sue said. 2 days later, Jun stood on the bridge of Earth's newest diplomatic vessel, the Unity *. It was larger than the Harmony *, and built with some of the insights they had gained from studying the Raxian ship. Han and Sue had insisted on joining this mission. As the ship moved beyond Earth's orbit, Jun felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. In the distance, they could see the approaching alien vessel. Captain, said the communications officer, they're hailing us. Jun straightened his uniform. A new design that represented all of Earth, not just one nation. Open the channel, he said calmly. The screen lit up, showing a being unlike anything they had seen before. It was elegant, with smooth features and large, gentle eyes. Greetings, Inspector Kim, the translator conveyed. I am Ambassador Thela of the Luminary Confederation. Commander Vrex of the Raxians spoke highly of your inspection abilities. Jun smiled. We welcome you to Earth's solar system, Ambassador Thela. I look forward to our meeting, the alien said. And perhaps you would be willing to conduct an inspection of my vessel as well. I am curious about this human custom that so impressed the Raxians. As Jun agreed, he caught Han, and Sue trying not to laugh. What had started as a tense moment of first contact had somehow become humanity's signature diplomatic move.